what if you were walking down an alley, right, in a very, very sketchy part of town, and you look into the darkness and you hear a monstrous noise coming from the darkness, right? This obviously freaks you out, so you do the thing that most people would do in that situation, is you call your local troubleshooting agency. That is right, guys. Your local troubleshooting agency. You call the people that you know are the best of the best. That being a really tall, blonde, platinum blonde woman with really sick-looking glasses. She's very slender, very beautiful, kick-ass, serious, loves money. And a young teenage boy, red hair, rambunctious, energetic, thinks of himself as an adult, right? And those two come and save your life, and they kill the monster that would have taken your life and eaten it for lunch. Well, that's what today's manga look is going to be about. We're covering Yuto Sano's manga. He does the illustrations and writes the manga. Kokurugai, or Gokurakugai, I think, something like that. I don't know if I'm pronouncing it right. The name will be on screen, so don't get mad at me too much. So yeah, this manga is amazing. I found it really cool. The art style is very, very reminiscent of, I guess, Chainsaw Man and a little bit of Jujutsu Kaisen. I think it's really cool and unique. So, you know what we do in these manga looks? We cover the first chapter, so let's move right on to it. Or this. So chapter 1 is called Two Polar Opposites, and it starts off with the tall, slender, platinum blonde, braided female, smoking a cigarette while reading a novel, simply ignoring the black telephone ringing in the room. Then comes in our young boy, our young lad. Red hair, he comes in shouting basically after doing laundry and chastises the lady who we come to know as Sister Tao or Miss Tao, and he picks up the phone and answers it as Gokuraku District Troubleshooters. Interesting first, interaction. So, as we continue, we get following panels of like the town that they're in, and the monologue of the young boy basically saying that the world has become strange, that maybe that's why people are going missing every day, and it seems like there's a lot of mysterious deaths, and that they keep increasing as the days go on. And he says, well, nevertheless, everyone acts like it's none of their business until they become a victim themselves, which is a really sharp jab at the human condition and how a lot of people don't give a fuck about a problem until that problem becomes theirs. And true. That the next panel continues up on the picture of the town, where he continues to say, it looks like nothing in this district ever changes, basically lamenting on why everything is so, dangerous. We then get a zoom in of their office in that same panel, in the door where it says Hino Deneru Gokuraku Troubleshooting's office, and our boy starts coming in confusion. He then chastises this old man that came into their office, saying he talks too much, and then gives him the photo evidence and the negatives, which he gladly takes. At this point in the chapter, I'm like, why is he giving him this? I didn't know, right? So we then find out that by Sister Tao answering, she chastises him by saying, hey, can you stop? He chastises them by telling them to stop bringing up the brothel thing, because the pictures they gave him was him doing the naughty with a beast woman, which in this world is very normal. There are beast men, full-on beast men, half beast men, and humans. He then politely laughs, saying an old man never stops wanting to have a little fun. So he says, "You get me, don't you?" So the Miss Tao responds, "I don't get you, but sure." You sure have a talent for people getting your pictures every single time. So she's saying, yeah, I don't get your weird fetishes, but you seem to suck at secretly going out to have the fun time. She then goes on to call it a useless talent as she lights her cigarette. Then, in the next panel, we see both the young boy and Miss Tao sitting, while the young boy sticking out his tongue. She then says, "You must be crazy." So the young boy then responds with, "Are you trying to get publicized on a weekly magazine or something? I mean, we're really saving your ass here." So they're basically saying, "Bro, you suck so much at sneaking out to brothels that we're basically doing you a favor, right?" So as soon as Miss Tao starts to give him the bill, he slams the money on the table because the bill is $500,000, which surprises both the young boy and the lady because it seems like he's never done this before. And so she's like, "You're real upfront today." And he says, "No, I mean, you guys are always taking good care of me. This is the least I can do for all the trouble." And so they respond, "Where's this coming from, bro? You've never done this." So he avoids that comment, and he's like, "All right, that's all for this time." And he quickly tries to leave the office, right? He thanks them, and say he'll come back if he gets caught again being a lascivious old man. But before he can leave, the young boy tells him to wait, and he says something about a smell. He then says, "You're full of shit." I guess he's referring to the man. He was able to distinguish the man as lying through smell. And he's like, What do you mean? What do you mean I'm full of shit?" So the young boy grabs the envelope of money the man gave, and he opens it. And he screams in anger because he realizes the man was trying to stiff him on the payments. It wasn't the full $500,000 that they asked of him. So the boy rightfully gets angry because, this is his job. He's like, "Dude, I'm not going to get paid if you keep pulling stunts like this." He's like, "What are you doing pulling childish gimmicks like this, you bastard? Don't tell such obvious lies." And the old man is screaming for his life, saying he's sorry, that he'll give the money, that he'll pay. And he then responds with, "No, actually, it's way too much money. This is outrageous." This pisses off Miss Tao, because she responds with, "Don't you think it's a little too late to be saying all of this? There's no law for shit like this in this district." "Don't make me say it over and over again, Mr. Prez." Turns out this man is the president of a company. "If you keep going, $500,000 ain't gonna cut it. And you don't have anyone else to rely on but us, right? You got that?" As she's playing with the lighter and she's lighting it. So they're basically extorting this man, but then again, he's coming to them to get rid of the evidence. She says, "I'm not going to accept a single penny less for what you owe us. Now pay up," as she's slowly putting the lighter on the man's mustache as a scare tactic. I'm telling you, this woman is as beautiful as she is terrifying. So the man shits himself. He says, "You got it. Here," and they hit him, and they call him a dummy. As we then can shift to the front of the building they were at, I guess what seems to be the entrance to a restaurant. There are people coming in and out. There's like a menu in front. We then get like a nice little panel of what they're eating. It's pop stickers, ramen, bao or dumplings, one of the two. And they're scarfing down the food like there's no tomorrow. They're really hungry. Especially the boy, who's bright, smiled, and he's enjoying eating, while Miss Tao keeps the serious face that she always does. The very serious woman she is. So we then get the boy's name because one of the waitresses call him out. He's like, "Oh my, you sure eat a lot, Alma." So we find out the young boy's name is Alma. She then goes on to say how she's jealous he doesn't gain weight, and asks where does all the food go. And this is where the author does a really funny joke where he says, "Just out my ass." And she responds with, "Hey, that's really nasty." But it gave me a laugh. The girl then shifts to Miss Tao where she says, "Where are your manners?" And the boy responds, "Where are yours, Yaya?" As she smacks Miss Tao's newspaper because she's eating and reading, and I'm guessing that's very uncouth and very disrespectful in their culture. She then notices the headline on the magazine, and she says, "Again, the number of missing people isn't decreasing." She then says, "Speaking of which, a lot of customers have been talking about how there's been a lot of recent unusual dead bodies of cats or other animals on the street, like how they're just randomly there, like a lot of roadkill everywhere." And Alma responds with, "Unusual dead bodies?" She then goes on to say, "They say that the bodies have huge bite marks and that their blood has been drained out dry. And then it seems that people are disappearing and nearby there. So there's like a dead body, and wherever there's a dead animal body, people disappear." She then says, "Isn't that a job for the troubleshooters?" Miss Alma then cleverly responds, if this was such a big trouble, people would have come to us, but we haven't received such a commission yet. She's like, "We haven't gotten work like that yet. So if this was such a serious thing as you're saying, Yaya, we would have gotten work." She then goes on to say, "Well, that would be the case, but your office is difficult to find. Ever since you guys came here, it's been a mahjong parlor." She then says, like, "You guys haven't changed the sign. It says it's a mahjong parlor. People don't know that you're a troubleshooting office." She then goes on to say, "Change your sign." Miss Tao says, "No, that's a waste of money." And so our boy Alma, with gleeful cheer, says that he offers to make one. And then the girl Yaya responds with like, "Alma, yours will look like an elementary schooler's arts and crafts project." So basically saying, your sign would look like dog shit. It's not gonna look good. So the girl was like, "All right, we're getting off topic." She says the sign doesn't matter right now. She wants them to solve it quickly. And so Miss Tao was like, "Okay, well, how about you get us money? Are you gonna pay us for doing this?" And she says, "No, that's not right." She's basically avoiding. She doesn't want them to pay them. She wants them to do it out of the kindness of their hearts. And they're like, "No, we're not doing that. We're paid through commission. You gotta pay us if we're gonna do dirty work like this." So she does the little cutesy act. Yeah. She's like, "Look at cute little old me. I could get kidnapped, And so Alma says, they both say, "Yes, you're cute." And he's like, "Yeah, that's true. You are cute. Yaya is cute." And she responds with, "Right, I'm cute. You guys won't save me, right?" This pisses off the owner, who's the lady next to her cooking. And she's like, "All right, get back to work, you stupid girl." She's like, you're distracting the customers. They're here to eat and pay. They're not here to have conversation." So from there, we shift to a panel a little drawing of the city, like the top of the buildings. And we then zoom in to our boy Alma, with a bow in his mouth, slowly walking down the street, holding a piece of cardboard, and I'm guessing some arts and crafts supplies, because he did offer to make the sign. He basically says, "I bought cardboard boxes, I bought paint." He bought cigs and snacks for Miss Tao. He said, "I know Sister Tao made it so I know, and he starts singing, and then as he's singing, he passes a sign that catches his eye. It's on the side of the building. For one, it catches his sign because the reward is offering 500 million, or I guess 5 million or something like that, dollars. As he looks in closer, he realizes that the sign is that of a beast boy. He looks human, but he has like dog ears or cat ears. I don't know the difference. He says there's a scar on the little poster says there's a scar on the cheek. He has white hair. He has dark greenish brown gloves, and a bunch of other stuff. They're basically looking for this boy. Alma responds, "Huh, a hand-drawn poster." He says it's if they stick this on the side of the store without permission, I guess Miss Tao is not going to take kindly to that, for one. But again, he finally notices the amount after we've noticed it. We noticed it first. He says 5, and then he pictures himself telling Miss Tao, and Miss Tao saying 5 million. Well done, Al. Eat all you want, and tell Elmo's getting all happy because he's being rewarded by Miss Tao for finding a commission that pays really well. And as he's reminiscing, he gets a whiff of a spray can. Someone's spray painting, and he's like, ugh, what now? It stinks of gas. As he looks toward in front of him on the side of the stairs, he finds himself face to face with a boy basically tagging the building. And Alma looks at the boy. The boy looks like, what? What do you want? Alma then ignores that and looks at the art and says, whoa, hey man, that's pretty good. Before then smacking the boy on the head, calling him a moron, saying that, don't you know if you graffiti on this wall, Auntie, the owner of the restaurant, and Sister Tao is gonna make you pay for it. He's basically trying to save this young boy's career and life because Miss Tao and Auntie are very scary individuals. They're very tough-ass ladies, okay? These are women you don't want to fuck with. And the boy responds, it's not like I come down here and paint because I want to. And Alma responds with, hey, don't make fun of this district. You're gonna get so much money robbed off of you because everybody on this district, basically, if you do something, they'll make you pay for it. The boy responds, hey, don't make fun of me. If it's money we're talking about, I got 5 million. And so Alma's like, oh, so you're the one that made this poster? And he's like, yeah. He then proceeds to drag the boy to Sister Tao. After telling the sister everything, she's pissed. She's like, hand over the money for the repairs. 300,000 should cut it. And this lady does not play. Sister Tao is serious. Or Ms. Tao. Sister or Miss Tao, depending on the translation. In my volume, they call her Miss Tao. In other translations, they call her sister. It depends on which one you're reading. This has the boy scared as he's holding on to Alma. So Miss Tao or Sister Tao goes on straight up to like threaten the kid, saying that, hey, you got nice clothes, shall I rip them off of you? The boy says, I don't have money nor clothes to give you. And so she's like, how are you gonna pay the debt, huh? Are you gonna lick the wall until all the paint comes off? And so the boy's thinking to himself that he what does he do? He's been captured by some weird people. He didn't want to pull this card, so he basically tells them that he's the son of a conglomerate, the Kiyomine financial conglomerate to be specific, and he says that if you try to threaten me or blackmail me, that he will report them to his parents, and they'll handle it because they're rich. He's basically a rich boy. He's a rich boy. This confuses Alma. He asks what a conglomerate is, and Miss Tao ignores that comment and says, oh, you're a rich boy. Will you get us the money then? And the boy goes in like disgrace because he can't believe they just ignored that and weren't afraid of it. And he says he can't do that because he wants to use all his money to save his friend, so he can't. This intrigues Miss Tao, and she says, your friend. And the boy says, Alma remembers, all right, about that. Here, he shows her the poster that the boy made about finding his friend with the 5 million. Miss Tao looks at it and she says, the boy responds to Alma, hey, why'd you take the poster off? And Alma responds with, hey man, you put it up there without permission. As they're arguing in the background, Miss Tao is basically saying, it's happening again. Seems like the number of people of going missing isn't decreasing. As she's looking at the posters, basically saying, yeah, it's not going away. She then says, hey kid. The kid says, I'm not a kid, my name is Luca Kiyomine. So then she's respectful. She says, okay, Luca, tell me about this issue. Luca says, what is this all of a sudden? She says, I'll let you off your repair debt. And he's like, really? She's like, all right, because she wants to know more about this, and she's willing to, cut the kid some slack if she tells him more. The kid goes on to say, it has become a rumor recently about an unusual increase of dead bodies. And he almost like, oh yeah, Yaya told us this. 2 days ago, when my friend Yuki went missing, we found out the name of the young boy. I found a dead crow in an alleyway where I often pass through. Near it was Yuki's hat. I'm sure that he's been taken by the same person that's killing all these animals. And he's like, it's no use telling you guys this anyway. And they're like, huh, that's not a cute way of talking. He says, why is it that a good guy like Yuki gets into this kind of mess? He's clearly worried. Our boy Luca is worried about his friend Yuki. We then get a backstory for Luca, where he goes uh, to a really rich kid's school, and he talks about how they all they do is brag and badmouth, and that they didn't like him very much. And he's like, it's not like I wanted to be born into this family. He then comes home, and his dad responds to him, telling him, are you still drawing those meaningless paintings? You can stop that now. I already threw out all your manga and all those useless other things. This really hurt Luca, and so he ignores what his dad says, takes off his backpack, and runs through a door. Out the front door. We later find him sketching a really sick Beastman drawing, like wearing armor. Kind of sad about how shit his life is going, and that's where he meets his friend Yuki. Yuki confronts him, and he's very astonished, I guess, at the art style that he's drawing. And Luca tells him what, in the similar fashion that he did Alma, and he's like, I know, I'm not trying to, cause any trouble. The boy says, I just really like your drawing, it's really nice. And Luca responds, you really think so? That's the first time anyone's ever told me that. And he's like, yeah, it's really good. You're so good at drawing, huh? Did you come up with that yourself? And Luca responds with, yeah. All of a sudden the kid's tail pops out, and he's like, what is that, a tail? And Yuki freaks out, and he's like, you probably don't like a beast like me hanging around these parts, huh? Don't you? Sorry. And he begins to apologize, kind of showing that beastmen go through discrimination, especially by those of higher status or class in this world, which kind of sucks. Of course, Luca, being a nice person, he's like, he's like, he didn't mean it that way, and he remembers what his dad told him about not associating with beastmen because they're an underclass in his eyes. His dad's kind of an asshole. But before Yuki can walk away, Luca tells him to wait, that he wants to talk to him more, and since then, they became friends. He's been the first person to call him by his first name outside his family. We get like a bunch of photos of them eating food together, drawing, playing on a swing, and Luca and him, while they're swinging, basically says that Yuki's his ever first friend. His first friend ever. He then goes on to tell them that drawing brought us together. It could bring him back, If money is what is needed to bring back Yuki, I'll give everything I have. If there's anything I can do, I'll do my best. Or I'll do it. Alma responds, showing how much of a man you are is great and all, but isn't Gokuraku way too big for you to do this alone? He's talking about the district. And he says, I'll do it alone, okay? I'll do it on my own. He's my friend, and I will save him myself. He's very hard-headed, this kid, but he's very stern about wanting to save his friend's life with whatever happened to him. Miss Tao then responds with, this isn't a matter that a child can solve alone. And he responds with, I don't need to rely on adults. None of the police or my parents listen to me. They just treat me like a kid, like you guys. And Alma says, that's why we're saying we're helping you out. Alma introduces himself as Alma, and he introduces Miss Tao as Sister Tao. We can be part of the Yuki rescue team, as he smiles at the boy while holding his shoulder. This surprises Luca, and he says, why would you guys... no one has ever... And he's like, we're a troubleshooting agency. If you're in trouble, me and the sister will help with anything, help you solve anything. That's why we're the troubleshooters. He basically draws the name of this thing on the shitty cardboard box that he made. This surprises Luca, but then he says, y'all look sketchy. And then this pisses off Alma. He's like, look, it looks good, right? And so the boy says, anyway, I don't have time to be worrying about you guys. I talked to you about it, so that means I don't have to pay the repair fees, right? And this like surprises Alma. He calls him a cheeky little shit. And Miss Tao responds with, you're basically the same, And he's like, huh? What do you mean I'm the same as that boy? He's like, well, yeah, to me, you're a cheeky little shit. Miss Tao looks out the window and notices the sun's going down and basically says it's almost curfew hour. Magas are approaching. Now, they'll tell us what magas are a little later in the chapter, but just know they're not a good thing. The boy then runs out the building saying thank God that he's not being followed and that those guys were really scary and they were very suspicious and very pushy. Which is funny, but they were really nice to him. I don't think they were that pushy. He then goes on to remember his dad and the police, and he says that they're definitely not normal, but they actually listened to me. They were the only ones who were willing to. And he's like, okay, I gotta get out of this. This is not the time to think about that. I have to put up all the posters before it gets dark. And he has to go look around every alleyway to see if he can find them. They're not. And then we get the next panel. We find him looking through alleys. He says they're not here. If I don't find them quick, the sun will set again. And then he's about to go to the next area where he painted a painting. Like that's why he was tagging. He was doing that to see if Yuki will come out. He runs into the dead corpse of a dog. Now remember, people are disappearing whenever they find these dead animals anywhere, and so this is basically a bad omen. It's something bad's gonna happen. He remembers back to the dead crow that he found when Yuki's hat was left, and this scares Alma, but he knows, or not Alma, this scares Luca, but he knows that Yuki could be around, so he continues running around the alleyway, and there he is, Yuki, holding on to the art that Luca drew, and he's kind of hurt and kind of tired, it looks like. Luca's very happy to see him. He says that he's found him, and Yuki, very broken and hurt, calls out his name, and Luca says, "Are you injured? Are you okay?" He's like, "I was looking for you, as I expected. You noticed my painting." Yuki ignores this and tells him to stay away. Right? As Yuki screams this, Luca notices down like an alley that there are crows that are running away from something big, it looks like. And what that big thing was a Manga, this giant monster with like two heads. Magas can look different, but this one specifically is a two-headed monster, no eyes, long ass tongues, sharp ass teeth, really long ass claws. There will be a picture on the screen so you guys can see, but it looks imposing. It starts to get closer, and Luca is, stuck in fear, basically asking, "What is this?" He's calling out for Yuki to hurry up. Let's go home. And Yuki can't move because he's hurt, so he tells him to run away as the monster grabs Yuki. Pulls up Yuki and gets ready to drop him in his mouth, and Luca just stands there like seeing his friend about to get eaten and reminiscing about the past, and he stupidly, but just like our boy Midoriya, runs at the monster, throws his bag at it, and begins to throw other stuff as he's desperately trying to get the monster to let go of his friend. The money he was saving up is falling everywhere, and the other head is getting ready to attack Luca as he's doing this. But before that head can chomp on Luca, Alma comes in and swoops him at lightning fast speeds, which shocks Luca. Luca is surprised to see Alma, and as Alma is telling him that he has some guts, that was close. Luca starts to apologize about before, and he asks Alma to please save Yuki, as Alma responds with, "Yeah, leave it to me, boy, I got you." But before he gets ready to fight, they hear a gunshot, and the gunshot came from right behind our boy Luca, and it's Sister Tao. Sister Tao then begins to say he's a big one, the one taking humans who get close to dead animals. You used them as bait, didn't you, you fucking pest, is what she says to the beast. She looks sick in this panel, by the way. As we move into the next panel, we see that she blew the arm off the monster, which then proceeds to let go of Yuki, who's falling, and then Alma jumps in and catches Yuki as Luca screaming for him. Alma does this acrobatic stuff, catches Yuki, and lands, which again surprises Luca. He's seeing Alma do all this cool shit. Alma then comes back, telling Luca that he'll give him to him, and Luca responds with "huh, thank you," and Alma does the Naruto pose where he does this, and he's like, "All right, bro, let's get ready to fight. It's time to clean up." As we get a really sick, like, I guess this would be a double, really sick, one-page panel of Alma standing there and Miss Sister Tao just standing there and posing, getting ready to fight the beast. So the beast begins to regenerate, because of course it can, which freaks out Luca. Alma tells him it's okay, it'll only take 3 minutes. As what used to be an arm, it grew a third head, which is really sick and gross looking. These monsters look similarly to Kaiju number 8 monsters, which is really, really interesting. So Alma runs at the monster. As the monster gets ready to attack, Alma kicks one of the heads back really, really quickly. In the next panel, Alma then dodges one of the other heads as then he proceeds to punch it in the face, knocking that head back. It's clear to us that Alma is not a normal boy. This dude has some superhuman strength, which is honestly sick. It's really sick. So this surprises Luca. So he basically asks Sister Tao, "What is that thing?" And Sister Tao responds with, "It's a Manga, a monster made from the resurrection of bodies of dead humans and animals. They drink human blood and devour the meat, a real wickedness." And Luca's like, "What? A Manga? Is there such a... What then? Is this the thing you see right now human?" And she says, "There is a hell, and there exists demons and Manga." No, she says there's a hell, there exists demons and Manga, and then the boy responds with, "So what, you're saying that thing is not human?" And she's like, "Does it look human?" He then asks her, "What on earth are you guys?" And she says, "Officially, we're personal troubleshooters, but then our side hustle is solving mysterious incidents concerning Manga. In other words, we're professional Manga killers," which is a really sick line she says as we get a really sick panel with her smiling with the cigarette sticking out her mouth. Luca responds with, "Killers, isn't that scary?" And she says, "Scary?" We then see Alma grab the tongue of one of the Manga heads and pulls it out. As Miss Tao says, "That's something I felt the first time I killed." She said the first time she killed something, she felt that, but it's no longer there. So Alma then punches the monster while holding its tongue and asks Sister Tao if he can do the thing, right? And she said, so he pulls down his thing, and Luca asks, "What is that little metal rod in Alma's chest?" Miss Tao says, "Oh, that's a solution." Alma then pulls out the rod out of his chest, and it becomes a really sick-ass black blade. And one of his eyes get, like, dark, and dark energy is coming out of it. It looks really cool, man. Like, I gotta say, Sano does a really good job at drawing these panels, man. This is really cool. This surprises Luca as we see half of Alma's face is kind of demonic looking. Luca asks if he's human, and Tao asks him if he's scared. She then says blood is the source of the special power of Manga. Al is born with that blood. He's a mix between Manga and human. He is a demi-Manga. Or in the volume they call him something else. They call him half Manga or something like that. It's translation differences. So we see Alma running in the next panel, we see Alma running at the monster with his blade, getting ready to strike. And I guess Miss Tao says, "Don't let your heart become Manga to Al." She's kind of worried for the boy. "There is no right or wrong in your blood," she says. "Stop evil and help others. Live as a man. Eradicate evil," right? So we then get like Alma's thoughts as he slices through the monster. He says, he thinks to himself, for me to be someone whose sister Tao believes in, so that I can say that the way I chose to live wasn't wrong. He's basically saying I'm killing Magas to prove my worth as a human, and that the half Maga in me isn't bad. He then screams, I will kill every last one of you, and as we get a really sick panel of him screaming and then slamming down the sword, splitting the three-headed Maga in half. And completely blowing it up as he slams the sword down, looks up with a very like Natsu-esque demonic look, and as he looks up, he sees the Maga is completely gone, and he starts to put the sword back in his chest. And he starts to go back to being human, and Miss Tao blows a cigarette smoke as like I guess as a sigh of relief. Alma then tells Luca, case closed, let's take Yuki to the hospital. He asks Luca if he can stand, and Luca remembers what Miss Tao asked when he asked if he was scared of Alma. And Luca then responds with, Alma, Sister Tao, thank you. Alma then responds with the double finger smile thing, the prototypical protagonist pose, and Miss Tao just with a serious while smoking. She's like, same. She's so serious. I love her, bro. We then jump, I guess, a few times forward, and Alma is like chilling on the couch, and he's like saying, man, if we got that 5 million yen, you know how many times we would have been able to eat yakiniku. And she says, hey, if we get money, it'll go to our bill for Horai first. He's like, yeah, we'll pay our previous bills before we buy more food. He then goes on to say, if that kid becomes an artist, I wonder how much it would cost. And she's like, by the way, as Alma says, she's not listening to him, by the way, while he's saying this. He tells her that he's bored, and as soon as he says that, good old Luca comes through the door asking how his business. He's like holding a little bag in his hand, and Alma thinks it's food, and he's like, yeah, I brought donuts, and you're really quick, you know. And he also brought the money. Here, it's become messy, and Miss Tao responds with, nah, we don't need that. And he's like, huh? Alma then goes on to say, we won't take your money for a cleanup job, plus Yuki was able to be found because of your hard work. But, Luca, one day if you're able to sell your paintings, you better buy us lunch. So he's like, you don't have to pay us the 5 million yen or money, just buy us lunch. And he's like, this pisses off Luca because he's like, I have a sense of pride, you know. And then he says, what happened to the sign you made? He's like, that thing died in the rain 2 days ago. You see, he then goes on the screen. You put cardboard out in the rain. Well, he then goes on to say, well, I sort of assumed that this would be the case, and he tells them to come outside. And he shows them their gift to them, which is a nice little sign that he made professionally, telling them where the office is and pointing up the stairs. And this surprises Alma, and he says, this looks good. And Luca's like, yeah, of course it is, bro. I made it. And Alma responds with, that's right, you're only a bit better than me. And this pisses off Luca. It's like, what does that mean, man? And as they're talking in front of the store, we get like the panel and we see them talking in front of the store, and they continue talking, and he's like, Luca says, I'm about to visit the hospital if he wants to join him. And Alma responds with, yeah, sure, man, but let's get something to eat first. And Luca responds by like, wait, didn't I just give you donuts, man? And that's how the first chapter ends. It's really sick. I really like this story. Honestly, really good story, really good chapter, really well drawn. It has a lot of interesting things. First off, mangas were the manga designs were cool, and it really intrigued me when I first read it and got me more into the world. Like, what are these mangas? How are they born? I know they're born from dead bodies and humans, but they can't just, like, a random corpse won't just turn into it, right? And so I wanted to learn more about that. I finished the first novel. There are 5 novels, I think, currently out in the English in English so far. I'll put the links in the description to Amazon because they're all available on Amazon. You guys can buy them for like $12 each or something. So yeah, they're really good reads. Each cover is really sick and stuff. So I really recommend you guys read it and also buy the volumes. I'll also put a link to a place where you guys can read online, but I highly recommend you guys buy the volumes actually to support the author. Support Sano Sensei, because he does a really good job. But anyway, that's the end of this video. That's Gokurakugai for you guys. It's a really sick story. I'm really enjoying it. I think it's gonna be a modern shonen. I think it's definitely gonna be like up there with Gachikuda and replace things like Chainsaw Man and Jujutsu Kaisen. So that's about it, guys. I'm about to sign off, and adios.